Hello friends, welcome to this video. My name is Taylor Venture. We're going to talk about content versus outreach, which are pretty much two different types of marketing systems, client acquisition processes that you can use to help you sign more clients and scale your agency. I think there's so many amazing long-term positive second order consequences of content people don't discuss. And I think that there's a lot of not so amazing positive, there's just not really any positive long-term second order consequences of outreach that people discuss as well. So we want to talk about the pros and cons. We'll talk a little bit about what we do inside of our agency, help you grow your agency faster. So let's start out with outreach first, and then we'll get into content. Outreach, first of all, some of the pros, okay, you can sign clients fast, okay? It's also minimal effort, and when I say minimal effort, I just mean that like compared to content, to get it going and sign clients, it requires minimal effort. And other things are pretty much those two, really. Those are really the two that I feel are the primary benefits of content or of outreach, okay? Now, some of the not so great pros, the cons of outreach are that the half-life is really bad. Okay, half-life is poor. I've talked about half-life before. What I'm trying to say here is that if you send a specific brand that you want to work with, a message, and you cold contact them or outreach them, and they see your message, that's it. The moment your message is sent, that's it. You need to send another one to bring them, to get them more interested in whatever your service offering is. And that takes energy because if it's not automated and you're trying to make it custom and highly personable, well, that's going to take you energy. And you're only spending that energy for one specific, brand, one specific prospect. So half-life is really poor, okay? Really, there's no benefits. It's just about client acquisition. So client acq. And what do I mean by this? With content, we're going to get to the pros there, but with content, there's so much more that comes out of it aside from client acquisition. With outreach, when you're reaching out to specific brands and you're trying to sign them, really the goal of this system is specifically to sign clients, and there's no other positive second order consequences that occur aside from this. I've never seen it. Unless you build this amazing outreach system and then you duplicate it for something else, for another facet of your business. That's kind of parallel, not necessarily a emergence of the system. We'll get into this. All right, so outreach is good in the beginning because it helps you sign clients fast and it takes minimal effort. So I'm going to say great for the beginning, great for the start of your agency. So when it comes to content, there is a much longer ramp-up time, so to speak, because when you start putting out content, you also need to build a following, right? So it might take you 9 months to a year until you actually start to gain momentum with content. So it takes a long time to get clients. Right? That's pretty much one of the positive downsides. Now, the other part is it's a lot of energy. I don't know anybody that writes really great content that doesn't put a lot of energy into writing that content. Even if it's short content that you're putting out on a social platform like LinkedIn or Facebook, still takes time to write that short content and do it, multiple times per week, if not almost every day. So it takes a lot of energy to do content. Outreach also takes energy, but in my opinion, it's much more minimal because with outreach, it's the same message every time. You're sending the same freaking message. You have what is called a script when it comes to outreach, and you're sending that same script. When it comes to content, every script, everything that you write, it's typically got to be different to keep your audience engaged. Now, some of the methods you can use to write will be similar, but the content itself that you're writing needs to be unique. It needs to be up to date. It needs to be relative to the new things that are going on in your specific industry. So I think content takes more energy, personally speaking. Okay, outreach is more easier because it's more templated. Now, here's where we get into like the real like differences. It has way more scalability, in my opinion, content, based on what I've seen. Again, could be completely wrong. Based on our market and our niche, so our service offering and our market, content works extremely well and has a much longer half-life than outreach. Why is that? Okay, well, first of all, it took, let's say, a year and a half, and primarily Destiny is the one who put out a significant amount of content. But even before Destiny, I myself was putting out content, and it took myself like 9 months to reach a point of putting out content on Facebook and trying to get on podcasts and do other things and speaking at different events in Vegas or in Hong Kong to sign enough clients and build up kind of like a thought leadership name for myself in the space. It took some time to be able to sign clients, but you have to keep up with it. Otherwise it can die off probably somewhat quickly. But the content itself will drive much more traffic and sign much more clients, but like way more down the road. So you can think of outreach on a graph. If you think of like clients signed, and this is clients signed, and this is time, outreach will look like this. It'll be, much more, you'll be able to sign clients much faster in terms of the, sorry, let me actually remake this. This is what it's probably going to look like. You'll be able to sign clients fast, but it's not, it's going to be a linear curve. Okay, now let's look at what it's probably going to look like with content. Okay, it's going to look like this, and then it's just going to get exponential. So this is typically what I've seen with content versus outreach. Now, if you want to get outreach to be exponential, you need to keep hiring people. You need to keep hiring more reps to keep running the outreach system. I've never scaled an outreach system, an outbound sales system, to hundreds and thousands of people like some companies have, but it's a lot, and that's outbound. Okay, when you scale content, it looks like this. It just takes you way longer to get there. So this is why I recommend outreach in the beginning. If you're new in your agency and you got to validate the market, if you're validating service market fit, go with outreach. It's a phenomenal place to start. Okay, sometimes you can start with content, but it's a little bit more riskier. If you're doing 10, 20, 30K MRR and you've been successful with outreach and you're also not doing content, I recommend you start doing content as soon as possible, because the sooner you start and the sooner you keep posting, the sooner you'll get closer to this. And this is the gold. Like, this is where, what happens here? I want to talk about this. What happens here is so much more than what you think. This is not just client signed, okay? This is team members signed, okay? I can tell you the majority of the people that we've hired followed our content, and that influenced their willingness to leave their current company and come to us. The majority of people we've hired in the early stages were hired and came through the content. Okay, more than this. What is PA? Partnership, I should say PO, partnership opportunities. We've been taught, a couple of people have reached out to us and asked if we're willing to sell our agency. And that isn't because of outreach. That's because of content. Okay, let's keep going. Your brand. Okay, what happens to your brand when you get to this point? Again, your brand is so well known. Everybody knows your brand, Better AMS. Better AMS has a really good name in the industry of Amazon advertising. It's well respected, etc. Okay, this doesn't come from outreach. We don't get respected in our industry amongst our competitors and amongst the influencers in our space because we did a ridiculous amount of outbound sales. We get that because we put out a ridiculous amount of value. We speak everywhere, and we're producing value constantly for a long period of time. And so when you enter the game of content, if you outwork and you outlast and pretty much just outwork, outlast, and outvalue everybody else's content, you will inevitably win and you'll become a thought leader. And when you become a thought leader in the space, all of these other things clients signed, partnership opportunities, team members signed, people that want to work with you. Everybody wants to be with you. And when everybody wants to be with you, it's really easy to grow because, again, you're a thought leader in the space. You're well trusted. You're well known. It's like, you're like the Coca-Cola of your industry. Everybody knows you. Yeah, that person's everywhere. Wherever you look, they're like omnipresent. They're here, they're there. They're speaking at every event. You just can't miss them. They're basically like God of this market. This is what you really want to get to. Okay, this is beautiful. And you want to get here because I feel like we're starting to see this. I think maybe we're like right here. I could be wrong. Maybe we're like right here. But we've started to see all these crazy second-order consequences, and I can't imagine what it's going to look like in 5 years, especially as we pick up our content game and we go even harder. I mean, we're barely doing any marketing whatsoever. And the content we have been putting out is predominantly on LinkedIn. So this is really the difference between content and outreach. One is a much bigger game in terms of the long term, and it has much more, much better second-order consequences. So don't neglect outreach. It's still something that can be scaled. There's massive companies out there that have ridiculous outbound sales teams. And so I'm not standing here telling you like, just do content. Content is much better. Inbound marketing is much better. You can do both. And there's, again, like I said, a lot of people that run hybrid models. For us, we found that content is better. And so we're trying to double down on what's working. Now, for you, I recommend, again, start out with outreach if you're new to starting an agency, and then move to content as outreach becomes more successful, and choose the one that you think is more scalable. But in the long term, content has positive second-order consequences that outreach will never have, and that's an unavoidable fact. Outreach will never help you sign more, outbound sales will never help you sign more teammates. It'll never help your branding become absolutely amazing. I mean, there's some cases if you have like an ABM, account-based marketing team doing outreach and they're going after enterprise deals and you close Coca-Cola, well, now you can slap a logo on your website and you have a legendary case study. But there's not much else to it. Like, it's primarily just a legendary marketing engine to help you sign more clients. It's not a legendary engine that can produce insane partnerships that could take you to heights that you may not even know are possible. It's not something that's going to help you sign more team members. It's not something that's going to make your branding exponentially better at all, because you're not omnipresent. You're behind you're in the shadows when you're doing outreach. You're in the DMs. Nobody else sees it, right? So that's my thoughts on content versus outreach, ladies and gents. If you enjoyed this video, please let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the subscribe button. It's the only thing I ask of you. And hit the like button as well. Helps the algorithm boost this video out to more humans who may need to scale their agency. Please let me know your thoughts in the comment. I know I just said that, but I want to say it again because your ideas for future videos are much appreciated. And also, I'm just curious to know people's thoughts on these videos. So any feedback, any comments, anything you want to say, thoughts during this video, I'm happy to hear them. All right. Much love, ladies and gents.